it's important that we start to defend against the north-south before they get in north-south. So our first transition takes place during their movement from side control to north-south. If you get stuck in north-south, it can be one of the most frustrating places to be, okay? You may know a lot of side control escapes because we've worked on them. There are significantly lower number of north-south escapes. So escaping should be an absolute priority, or preventing people from going north-south. So in this position, CJ is in side control, and you can see that my hand is lightly cupping the hip. Please don't think that you're going to be able to easily stop someone from going north-south by stiff arming, although I see that a lot. That's a great way to have them sit kesikatami, go ahead, and start dominating the arm, and that's not what we want. So make sure that we're pushing with our elbow here and our hand lightly grips at the hip. What's the first clue that they want to go north-south? Anyone know? The hand, all right? So when this hand comes over the head, I know that he's thinking about going north-south. Bring it back. If the hand's over here, the chances of him going north-south are very low because it'll bind his own shoulder. If he starts to move, go ahead and move, you can see that his shoulder will stop him from actually being able to transition anywhere over top of the head. So while I'm in this position, if I feel the arm come over, it doesn't mean for sure he's going north-south, but it's definitely an option. So we need to pay attention to their hand placement. Now this hand right here is a sensor. When I feel him starting to move, I'm going to look at him like a wave, right? It's a wave coming towards me, and I say, oh my God, it's a tsunami. I need to go away. Very counterintuitive. Everyone wants to bridge in. We can't bridge in. So when he starts to go north-south, go ahead. I'm going to turn all the way over into a good turtle position. That's good. It should be a very effortless transition if you hit the timing right. It should not be difficult. If it is difficult, it just means that you waited too long and you waited them to get actually to north-south. You can't bridge out of north-south. It's a bridge over during the transition from side control to north-south. Again. All right, so I've got my hand, my sensor, my other hand's a Napoleon. Oh, I know he's thinking about going north-south. I extend the arm away and I bridge all the way over. You can see that when I bridge, my knees came off the floor. Let's look at it again, different angle. This. All right, hands safe. Okay, I know he wants to go. He starts to rotate. I turn up and over, and make sure your elbows come to the inside. It looks easy. When done correctly, it is easy, but it's all about timing, and timing is the easiest thing to mess up. So if it's not easy, we're just going to rep it out. Make sense? Let's get it rolling. And I want to go north-south. I probably shouldn't run, right? If I run, then they bridge over and get to this position. So if I know that this is something that he likes to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit reverse kesikatami, and I'm going to lasso the head, okay? That will open up a lot of submissions in north-south, primarily the north-south choke. So in this position, I know that if I bring my arm over the head and I start to move, that he's going to start bridging out. So I will bring the arm over the head, and then while he's wondering what I'm going to do, I'm going to sit my hips down towards his feet, okay? Now I'll start to move my hips back. The qualifier that lets me know if I'm in good shape here is if I can get this arm scooped underneath my hips. If he keeps it very heavy, you know, I might try to go back to something else, but this, relax, this is what I want. If I feel this happen, I will progress to the lasso. The lasso just means that the arm that's over the head is going to come back underneath the head. Now there's a relationship between his chin and my armpit. I can feel that his head is tilted lightly this way. This is good for me, okay? I don't want him to be able to get that back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting pressure with my hips, but as soon as I feel any tension on this arm, I'm going to allow that arm to slip underneath my body. Now look at my fingers. For a moment they were tilted up. This is bad. We don't want this. We want our thumb turned down and our fingernails lightly pressing into the floor. So I've moved my hips back. I feel the tension here. My fingertips on the floor. I'm going to allow his arm to slip underneath. You can see that my rib cage has started to put a lot of pressure on his face. Can you turn your face towards me? No. It's very, very, very important that the Domination in this position comes by pressing my ribs against the side of the face. I see a lot of people come here, and if he can turn his face towards me, that also means he can start to turn his body. If he can't turn his head, he will not be able to turn his body. If they start getting crazy and trying to bring the legs over and turn, you emphasize the pressure of the ribs on the face. Now I'm going to take my inside leg, and I'm going to come to the belly down position. From here, I'm going to belly down, I'm going to belly down, I'm going to belly down, more towards north. You okay?
Yeah.
More towards north-south. If you do this correctly, it will separate the chin from the chest, and you will only need to tighten one arm. I didn't even connect my hands there. You didn't hear me grunting. I wasn't straining. The power in this move comes from moving north-south with that head lasso and separating the chin from the chest. That make sense? If you can't separate the chin from the chest, then you don't do a north-south choke. Again. You okay, buddy?
Yeah.
All right. So I was in side control. I know that he likes to do that bridge escape. So I let him think I'm going to go north-south, but then I bring my feet by the hips and I scoop his arm. If I can feel his arm move, I will progress to the head lasso. Now, I can feel his chin is slightly this way. That doesn't change anything, you're okay. I'll put pressure in, but watch how I use my ribs to push his face away. Continue going, thread that needle, my head goes nice and low. More north-south, more north-south, more north-south, and then I tighten. Different angle. Actually, let's look at this way. Sorry. Control. Sorry, ladies. Control. Arm goes over the head. I sit reverse. I start to, okay, good. I moved his arm, right? Lasso underneath the head. It's about the rib cage, pushing the face away. I don't know which way his face is turned. There's no, it's a little bit this way, okay? Fingertips into the floor, pressure, power breaking that arm. I slip over top of it. I use my ribs to turn. Head low, belly button towards the floor, more north-south, and tighten. If you don't get the submission, most of the time it means you have not gone far enough north-south. So if you squeeze with that arm and you can't get it, walk your feet more this way away from their head, not that way closer to side control. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
When you say tighten, what are you talking about? Doing
Just
bicep?
this.
Okay.
That should be the tap if your arm's in the right place. Make sense? All right, let's go. So the recurring problem is you're not able to scoop the arm across the face. Finish. What do I do to make that happen? It was a trick question. You don't do anything. Okay? You do move your hips a little bit, but the person on bottom is going to dictate whether or not that elbow is elevated enough for you to catch. So even without anything, all right? If the elbow is up here, it's very easy for me to scoop it with my hips and my belly. Here's what I mean. So if the arm is here, without the lasso, it's very easy for me to dominate. If the arm is laying on the floor, I can't get underneath it to push him across the face, right? Then what do? The last move, we slip over top of it, right? So if I come here and that arm is on the floor, it's super easy to go over top of it because it was planted on the floor. They don't want you to go north-south, right? They don't want you to step over top of the arm. And where I said it was being lazy, I meant this way, right? But you have to defend against me going over top of the arm by elevating it and trying to keep the hand close to either the belt or push with the elbow. You do that, it becomes very easy to scoop this. So this isn't wrong. A lot of people do this. But then we do the first move. We slip over top of the arm, we use our rib cage. Now, watch one of my hip movements, and this is going to solve a lot of problems for you. I'm going to take the arm out of the way. I'm going to demonstrate it first with the north-south choke and then how to catch the arm. So a lot of you come in here, and then your first movement is directly right to this. And that's okay, especially if you get the chin. But if his face is turned towards me, it can be very difficult. And the arm being too low will replicate that. So my first hip movement isn't here, because that'll just roll my rib cage on his face. My first hip movement is away from him. Now when I turn in, it catches the face. So I'm going out in this perpendicular plane a little bit to drop my hips. It's something else I haven't seen anyone else do. I'm not saying it's my secret or anything like that, but you're going to find it becomes a lot easier to scoop things. In this instance was the face. If the arm is in, but it's a little bit too low, it's not on the floor, right? If it's on the floor, I go over top of it. It's a little too low. That's enough. I scoop my hips, and then I ski, okay? And you see I start bringing my hips up. Now this is going to be a tough choke. From here, you can re-scoop your hips away and then catch that arm. And then you see that I'm still on my side, right? I don't come up to my knees. I stay on my side, I lock up my rear naked choke grip, and then I squeeze my elbows together and lift tightly against the chest. Does that make sense? What's up?
So you are lifting a little bit. You're just staying on that side instead of posting up on the knee. What, to get your arm all the way up under here?
Mm-hmm.
Like this. You are lifting them a little bit, but not.
Right. Why am I lifting?
Not
I'm not
this.
lifting, honestly. What is it that I'm doing? A lift would be this.
Okay.
And that's not what I'm doing.
Rotate.
Partial. I'm rotating him by bridging off my toes. So when the arm is caught in here, I'm not lifting.
Right.
Watch.
Okay.
I'm pushing with my legs. So the pressure isn't this way, the pressure is that way. Because I need my rib cage to do what? Turn his head, and in this instance, turn the arm, turn his body. Does that make sense? Let's go, ladies. So, Cheryl just asked me what makes this different than the north-south choke we were doing before. And the mechanics of the north-south choke are very often the same. We want to lasso the head. We want our rib cage to turn the face. We want to go more north-south. All of those things are going to be repeating. But why do I teach it different every time? Dealing with the arm is the most difficult thing, right? And so there are a lot of different variations on whether the arm is in, the arm is out, whether or not it's bent, whether I can go over top of it, what position am I transitioning in from? And today, we transition in from side control, and what you're going to find is that it can be very difficult to dominate this arm. It can be very difficult. Last time we practiced this move, we did it from north-south, and if I'm in north-south and the arms are trapped, when I sit, I don't even have to worry about this arm because it's trapped on the inside. Now I can just lasso the head and use my rib cage to catch the face. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at another variation off of what we were just doing where we get total control of this arm. It's not going to happen a lot, but sometimes it will. You can be proactive and go get this arm, or they can be lazy with this arm. If we're proactive, and I like this move, what we'll do is we'll come in here all the way down, we'll trap the arm first, and then we sit. And now that arm is up at least 90 degrees. I need this arm to go to at least 90 degrees if I'm going to do this variation. If they get lazy with the arm, we can just do what we did last time. Lazy. Okay, let's look at the arm side of it. So if I'm here, and I come over and I sit and he gets lazy with the arm, right? Cool, that's good. Low percentage here. If the arm is in and I bring my knee down by the hip and I dominate the arm and then I sit on it, it can be a little bit more high percentage. It'd be difficult for him to bring his arm back into the game. So from here I'm going to lasso. Life is still good, okay? But instead of allowing this arm to slip out, what I want to do is catch it with my ribs the same way that I was the face. So I don't just want to transition to north-south here. I want to scoop and pull that arm over top of the body. Okay, you see how it's trapped here. I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to lock up a rear naked choke grip, and I'm going to squeeze. Now keep in mind that with the head lasso, arm lasso, my forearm's cutting off, or biceps cutting off the blood on one side. What's cutting off the blood on the other? The shoulder. So it's a triangle. It's an arm triangle, but it's not really a darce, it's not really an anaconda, because my rib cage is what's dominating this. Does that make sense? Again. You okay, bud? Yeah. I know this one's crummy. Yes. Over, reverse sit. Oh, cool. he got lazy with this arm. Lasso, this hand can block the knee, block the hip, it doesn't matter. So remember, I'm gonna scoop my ribs so that my ribs catch that arm. And then I'm gonna start moving a little bit north-south. Let's move the camera around this way. You okay? Where's the camera? There it is. So from here, hand to my own bicep, and you can see I'm still laying on the side. Don't come up here. Coming up here won't allow you to keep enough weight because the space between the knee and the hip is fixed. So you want to stay laying on the side here. Hand, if he bridges to come up, does not save him. You okay? One more time. Stay right here. Nice and tight and proactive. I go get it this side. Feeding, reverse sit. Hand lassos, right? Scoop, because I want my ribs to catch the tricep. Hand comes in, tight, and I squeeze. Make sense? If it puts pressure on your neck or your face, what do you do? Let's get it.
Where's your hand? This is under. Okay. And squeeze the basket.